What do you think of when I ask you how we tackled the world's most pressing problems 25 years ago? You might think about how scientists across the world collaborated to map the human genome, or how nations rallied and formed global pacts designed to halt the climate crisis. Fast forward to today, and the way that we think about improving the lives of ordinary citizens like you and me has been completely taken over by the corporate world. Instead of bringing together the greatest scientific minds to develop life-saving treatments, or holding our government accountable to enact policies preventing the pollution of our air and our rivers, nowadays we simply think, what business idea will turn a tidy profit and as a side benefit, help people? What iPhone app can we develop that will make the world a better place? Literally, people are literally saying this.
Young people have grown up never seeing the government do anything except turn the lights off now and then. And so their activism is not going to be to get the government to do things. It's going to be to invent a way of some app, and that's going to work. So I'm actually very optimistic about the future.
And this thinking is so common. Instead of the government looking out for its citizens, or citizens holding their democratically elected government accountable to their interests, the dominant thinking in American culture has moved towards a much less democratic and much more insidious place. Instead of positive change being made by advocates, concerned citizens, and communities coming together to form a consensus about what is the best path forward, in other words, a democracy, positive change has been co-opted in the American consciousness by an Asian teenager sitting alone in his bedroom coding the next TikTok. But while that is an interesting narrative to believe in, it is ultimately not the way the world works, nor how it should work. No amount of DoorDashes or Uber Eats is going to make our insanely expensive groceries any cheaper. No amount of Airbnbs is going to solve the housing affordability crisis in America. No amount of Tinders or Hinges is going to help me find a girlfriend. But despite this obvious fact, not the one about me being hopelessly single, but the one about how tech innovation won't solve all of society's problems. Despite this fact, our country and our culture still look towards big tech and corporate innovation for the solutions to making the world a better place. And this private technological innovation is going to save the world mentality isn't just limited to the fringes of academic thought. It's embraced by some of America's most powerful and influential corporations and figures.
You've created so many amazing things that are changing our world.
Tesla has done more to help the environment than all other companies combined. It would be fair to say that, therefore, as a leader of the company, I've done more for the environment than everyone else, any single human on Earth.
I'm a Uber transgender driver.
You can register to vote. All because of her.
لا والله أنا حابة إنه يكون لي بصمة في تاريخ بداية القيادة.
I used to think that if we just work to give people a voice and help people connect, that was going to make the world all better by itself. Yeah. But now I feel like we have a responsibility to do even more. So bringing people together and creating these communities is, I think, a lot of what we can do to help create more civil and productive debate on some of the bigger issues as well.
These companies have presented themselves and the corporate world in general as the solution to society's problems. And as the saviors of society, they push the notion that all of the problems in society could be fixed if we just had the right business idea, if we just created the right iPhone app. I hope that I don't have to tell you how dumb this is. Not every societal issue can be solved by starting a business or by businesses self-regulating to be more environmentally and socially conscious. The problem with this approach is that, unfortunately, even with Uber and Tesla and Airbnb and Facebook and all of the other revolutionary, world-changing companies out there, we still have not tackled any of the underlying problems that continue to plague our society. Do you care about pollution and the climate crisis? Well, the existence of Tesla does not do one single thing to prevent fossil fuel and manufacturing companies from releasing billions and billions of tons of carbon dioxide into our air every year. Do we care about housing affordability and accessibility? The existence of Airbnb is making it so housing is taken off the rental market, making rent prices higher than they've ever been in history. Do we care about fostering community and connection between our neighbors and our fellow human beings? Well, the existence of Facebook might just be actively working against those goals, making us more disconnected, shallow, and lonely. All of these businesses claim to be changing the world for the better, when in reality, they are just making our broken systems more entrenched and harder to fix. It's like putting a band-aid on a house and telling people to ignore the cracking foundations. These businesses make us feel like they are helping our society advance, when in reality, they are simply taking our attention away from the problems that need fixing. But it gets worse. Not only have they pushed private innovation as the solution to all of the world's problems, corporations have practically taken over the language we use to talk about making the world a better place. For example, instead of talking about creating regulations that would prevent corporate waste, fraud, and abuse, we now talk about corporate social responsibility. Instead of talking about advocates speaking out for what they believe in, we now talk about empowering entrepreneurs to tackle global issues. Instead of talking about mobilizing our communities, holding our representatives accountable, and changing the law, we talk about uniting governments and partners in communities of practice to tackle common challenges, co-design practical tools, and advance solutions through iterative R&D. Like, respectfully, just shut the fuck up. Like, what are we doing here? Don't get me wrong, I think that corporations should act in the best interests of humanity as a whole and strive to improve the communities around them. But I also know that just because they say that they're gonna be a good boy and stop polluting American rivers, or be transparent and honest about how their products turn your lungs into mush, or guarantee that their drugs are not life-threateningly addictive, doesn't mean that they aren't lying through their teeth. With all of the corporate waste, fraud, and abuse that the American consumer has suffered through, you'd be a fool to take them at their word. But we are so captured by corporate thinking that all of our solutions to society's problems are filtered through this corporate lens of fostering innovation, or empowering entrepreneurs, or leveraging data, and it distracts us from doing the work that is actually necessary for solving our problems. All the while, the status quo continues unchanged, and our corporate overlords continue to make billions of dollars while the rest of us struggle. This isn't to deny or downplay the important work that advocates, scientists, and administrators are doing in their field. It's to say that the entire way we think about making the world a better place has transformed from something that you do because you care about the world and you care about your neighbors, to something that you only consider if you can make it into a business, or if it will make your corporation a tidy profit. Now you may be asking, sure, corporations have taken over and sanitized the language and responsibility for making the world a better place. But that doesn't mean that the government doesn't still play an active role in improving the lives of American citizens. Right? Right? That's where you would be dead wrong, idiot. The American government has almost gleefully given up any responsibility it had to make our lives better. And as a result, Americans' trust in the government is at all-time lows, and for good reason too. During the Reagan administration, under the advisement of economist Milton Friedman and his Chicago School of Economics, the federal government pursued a policy of aggressive deregulation, favoring free markets and minimal government intervention in the private sector. This ideology of just let the markets do whatever the fuck they want has continued through the years from president to president to president. From President Clinton's third-way neoliberalism and his precious public-private partnership, all the way until today, where President Trump has now clawed back even some of the most fundamental and long-standing social safety nets that have supported Americans for over 50 years. Medicare, Medicaid, SNAP, and on top of all of that, he has slashed regulations on crypto, AI, and the environment. Less government intervention, less regulation. Let the corporations and the billionaires do whatever the hell they want, and the world will be a better place. It's absurd. And this, as a result, has taken away the power of democracy, the power of people to have a say in the decisions that affect their lives and the lives of the people around them. Set aside for a moment all of the other constitutional and democratic violations that this administration has allegedly committed, from instigating an insurrection to, sending ICE to terrorize, detain, and deport hardworking American neighbors, to pitting the US military against American citizens. Setting all of that aside for a moment, and I know that it's a lot to set aside, but setting all that aside, the transfer of the responsibility of making change and improving society from the people and our elected representatives to random, unaccountable big corporations poses a grave danger to our democracy. When all of the world changing, all of the societal problem solving is done by the corporate world, by innovative entrepreneurs, by big companies taking on corporate social responsibility pledges, by cracked teenagers developing iPhone apps, what power do ordinary people have? We are left out. We are left out of the decision-making process, and we are left out of the benefits that result. Forget solving public problems through public action. Actually, forget public action entirely. No more enacting meaningful policy, changing laws, organizing, pressuring the people meant to represent us. When the corporate world has taken over the responsibility of making the world a better place, we are left with nothing. No way to shape our world in the way we want. No way to have our voices heard and our problems addressed. Might as well go start a business of our own. We can, of course, claw back this agency bit by bit by bit, and have our voices heard and have a say in the decision-making that will affect our lives. You've already done step one, which is to understand how corporations have taken over the responsibility for improving the world, and how the government has happily relinquished that responsibility, serving more as an attack dog for corporate interests rather than a government by the people and for the people. Step two is to go outside and talk to people. If you're like me and you haven't seen the light of day in the past 72 hours or touched the rock in months, this is especially important. In order for us and people like us to ever be released from the never-ending slop that is spoon-fed to us through the YouTube algorithm, and actually organize our communities and hold our institutions accountable to the will of the people, we need to go outside. Normally, I give you a step three, like go join an organization or go make friends or go join a local protest. But since I assume that everyone's gonna get stuck at step two, I'll just leave it at that. Okay, if you enjoyed this, you'll want to watch this video about how young people don't want to have children anymore. I worked really hard on it, so I'll only be slightly pissed if you don't watch it. Just kidding, you can do whatever you want. Just know that if you don't watch it, you'd be a complete asshole.